Hey, happy day. Gasoline at the pump. The prices range anywhere in the US of A from $3 a gallon up to $8 a gallon that I've seen, at least in Canada. They go all the way up to $10 or maybe even $11 a gallon. Now it's a little harder to do the conversion from liters for me. And now they're swinging into hectares versus acres and all that. It's very difficult. And by the way, a little history on that. The first Trudeau, he came on board in the 60s and he had a great plan in terms of Marxism, how to get the country there. And the first thing he did is he brought in the metric system, which why would you do that? 90% of your trade goods go to your neighbor, to the US of A, and they ain't changing, but he said, I gotta change, and then he brought in the Official Languages Act, and I gotta do that, and guess what? Now, you could no longer have one person, a man, most often, bringing in an income to support the home. You had to now have both parents working because taxes had to go up because you paid for all of these new things, call it all the signage and land titles office and books and rules and regulations. And then of course you brought in the different language. There's a whole bunch of more changes, and that was part of it. That's where it began. That's where it started to kind of get towards the left. And ever since then, it's been an interesting program because for all intents and purposes, it's been successful. Now, talking about gas, it's interesting because he got his fortune, the first Trudeau, from his dad, who was in the gas business. He was kind of a free enterpriser, is my understanding. And then when that first Trudeau became the leader, he went out and he nationalized oil companies and gas companies and airlines, because that's what commies do, right? So anyway, back to gas stations. Again, talking about gas. Again, maybe it's still, just this morning, I was in Western Canada. I am. And I went to a Chevron and I got gas and it's all in French. So I went into the guy and I said, I'm standing here waiting and I don't know what to do. It's in another language. And he says, well, occasionally it defaults to French. I said, well, occasionally nobody here speaks French and nobody can understand it. Get rid of the default. Like, I want to put gas in my vehicle. And he said, what's your problem? He said, it's all the same as gas. Figure it out. And I said, wow, they got you, didn't they? The first Trudeau, the second Trudeau, the prime mistakes, they got you. Because you think this is okay? He said, yeah. And I said, do you speak French? He said, no. I said, how can you think this is okay? Trillions of dollars has been lost. Every Canadian would be driving a Cadillac Escalade or a Mercedes if it wasn't for all these bad decisions. Good for them, though. Good decisions if you're a Marxist, right? And this guy, he didn't get it. So it's happened. It's come to this. People have been brainwashed. In the US of A, there's a few huge international accounting firms, and I won't name it, but there's 3 or 4 that are extra large, and I've dealt with one of them for a number of years. And in the US here, just the other day, I was told, a few of my companies were told that they would no longer deal with us because I have made racial comments. So they won't deal with the companies that I own. How do you like that? I have often said I'm against bigotry, and white people now are being phased out. And I've often said, you know, you look at the commercials on television, there's no white people anymore. We're not represented anymore, and color shouldn't matter. I've said that repeatedly because I mean it. And we should all be treated the same. Color shouldn't matter. But somehow or another, I guess I'm a racist now because I'm saying that white people shouldn't be treated this way. I mean, there shouldn't be any special interest groups with color. There really shouldn't be. But somehow or another, this big firm said, I'm bad now. Hey, just saying. Illegal tobacco in Canada, it's almost half of all of the cigarette revenue now goes underground. And all the government does is they're worried about pot and smoke marijuana, don't smoke cigarettes. It's said that still 20% of all Canadians smoke cigarettes. And it's a huge business. And there's over $2 billion annually. This is the number that some genius has come up with in lost tax revenue. And it's underground stuff. There's a message there. I mean, how does the government let that happen? It's happening now with marijuana too. Apparently upwards to half of the marijuana market is underground. So the Canadian government obviously isn't good at their job, right? Are you with me on that? How about they are terrible at it? They suck. They just don't do a good job at all. Now, the Liberals, Canada, the US, these Liberals, they continue to push their radical policies with regard to transgenderism. They think it's okay to, if you think you're locked in this body, we'll put you over in this body. I just wish we could have robots running the country. They'd do a better job. Now, they're bad. And people are fighting, parents are fighting to protect their children against, from this brainwashing. And it's now said that upwards to 85% of all people in North America oppose sex changes. And if you get to right-wing people, conservatives, it jumps up to 97%. So clearly, people are not in favor of this. What they do say, though, is when you grow up and you're of legal age, if you want to do that, go ahead. And to which I've always said, go marry a bale of hay. I could care less. But it's up to me whether or not you can bring the bale of hay to my house, right? Same thing here. They're saying, government, go away. You're telling a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old that if they feel imprisoned in this body, that will transfer you to another body. It's craziness. Get rid of all these governments. Got to get rid of them fast. We gotta do it. And these drag queen stuff things and the Prime Minister of Canada does a lot of this, but this particular article is about Ecuador and Biden. And he gave him $20,000 to get the culture going for, transgenderism. Really? Who does that? How do you like that, American taxpayers? And also Biden, I think in the last year, he hired almost 80,000 more people to work for the IRS to go out and collect tax money, and he's out giving it away to Ecuador? Hey, they walk among us. And that's the bad news, but the good news is you got that bad news. You can go out and you can talk bad about it, and you can say it to good people and even bad people, and maybe we can make a difference. Hey, y'all come back. See ya.